What does healthy love really look like? Not perfect, not polished, but conscious, healing, and deeply connected.
That it feels like I'm gonna die if I do this, and then you walk into it and the fire is not as bad, and then you get through it and you're like, "I can't imagine had I not done that, where my life would be."
What if, instead of coming home and feeling like you're invisible, your partner paused, found you, looked you in the eyes, and said, "You matter to me. Tell me about your day." What would it feel like to have even 2 intentional minutes of real connection every day?
I came home, would go to the fridge or the TV, and Wendy reminded me one day, I'm the most important thing in this house, and can you manage your morning a little better? And when you come home, the first thing you do, find me, kiss me, check in with me about the day, and we just call it our 2-minute miracle.
So, you just gotta figure out what is gonna work for you and love yourself enough to say, "This is what I need." And if they love you, they'll say, "Okay."
Join us for a powerful and raw conversation with Shane and Wendy Adamson, a couple who almost divorced, but instead chose growth, healing, and real love.
My 14-year-old self 14 years ago saw me now. I don't think she would believe it. So, I mean, it's kind of neat to think like in 10 years, what is that version of me gonna be like? It's just neat.
Oh, I
Because you
love
can
that.
spit and not grow, and then what?
If you've ever felt invisible, unappreciated, or like love meant losing yourself, this episode is for you.
This is part 3 of our People Pleasing Recovery series. Step beyond survival and into a relationship that heals, grows, and empowers you. Stay tuned, because the love you long for starts with the conversations that open your heart.
Welcome to Empowering Women in Conversations, podcast to empower and uplift women by providing a safe space for them to share their stories and experiences and encourage the strength, resilience, and power of women. If you are tired of putting others' needs before your own, leading to burnout and resentment, and you are ready to transform and create relationships that are supportive rather than draining, join us on this journey of women overcoming adversities and achieving their true empowerment. Here's your host, a licensed professional counselor, Anita Sandoval.
Welcome back to Empowering Women in Conversations. I'm your host, Anita Sandoval, and today I'm honored to continue a truly special 3-part series with a couple whose story continues to inspire and heal. Shane and Wendy Adamson have been married over 30 years, and together they've walked the path most couples only dream of. One built on conscious love, on mutual growth, and emotional resilience. Wendy, a former people pleaser. And if you didn't listen in, go back, part 2. And daughter of a narcissist, now leads a powerful photography movement with Wendy Adamson portraits, photography, and reclaiming their stories through the lens of authenticity. Shane, a licensed clinical social worker, has been a therapist with over 3 decades of experience, brings deep insights into trauma, healing, couples work, and emotional intimacy. Together, they're proof that love doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. Welcome Shane and Wendy back to the show.
Great to be back with you, Anita.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you guys. This is our 3rd, and for me, the most interesting that my couples or my audience wants to resonate with, because you guys are my first couple here to the show. What does healthy love actually look like? You two have shared over 30 years within your relationship, and from what I see, it grows stronger and stronger over the years, not through perfection. This is what I want to tell, my people pleasers who are perfectionists. Regular relationships have conflicts. You guys are intentional in doing the work that is needed to maintain successful, healthy relationships. And what has been some of the core values or practices that have helped you stay emotionally connected and growing together?
I'll start with just
Okay.
a simple one, and then when do you add in whatever you feel?
Okay.
We do this little 2-minute miracle, and I used to not manage my time really well, and I would lose my wallet and keys and be rushing out of the house. And I also, when I came home, would go to the fridge or the TV, and Wendy reminded me one day, I'm the most important thing in this house, and can you manage your morning a little better? And when you come home, the first thing you do, find me, kiss me, check in with me about the day. And we just call it our 2-minute miracle. And we've been doing it most of our marriage. Sometimes it's not a full 2 minutes, but it is a connecting time and it's a ritual that we do.
And I'll piggyback off of this that one of my main things right now in our relationship is you have to ask for what you need because I'm not a mind reader. You are not a mind reader. Knowing like when I get upset, he doesn't know what's going on in my mind. And so, I can huff and puff all I want, but if I don't like it, it's really funny. Like, so we're having this podcast today and we had kind of I had a meltdown that I had a certain task that I wanted to do. And in my head, I wanted to do it a certain way. He needed to do it his way. I needed to do it mine. And I just emotionally, I just shut down. And, I think prior in years in our marriage, before like I really understood all this, I would just fly off the handle, get mad at him, just stop everything. And, as our marriage has matured and we have matured more, and I mean, I'm 55, he's 57.
Seven.
Yeah, there's maturity in it. But, even watching our kids who are in their 20s, they almost seem like they have more maturity than we had. So there is a sense of, knowing what the responsible like attitude is and to sit back and just take a second to regroup and really ask yourself, like, is there something that I did wrong in this? Is there something he did wrong in this? And then just sit in that for a second and talk to him. So I said, I was really upset. And I know that you think it's silly that I broke down, but I wanted to bring this wheelbarrow and you wanted to bring another one. I mean, it's just such a silly, silly thing. But he said, I'm really sorry that happened. So I think previous years in our marriage, I didn't even know what validation meant. And for me to say, I'm upset, and for Shane to come in and say, I'm sorry that you're upset, that's hard. And I can say, I'm sorry that I flew off the handle. That would be hard for you. Just that maturity in it made us just hug and say we're sorry. But I think in previous years, that would
Yeah.
never happen. Like,
Or else we would be silent treatment for,
right.
A half
A
a day or a
day.
day or two. But we can like get through these within an hour and get reconnected.
Like,
Most
Right,
most of
15,
the
20 minutes.
yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes even shorter. Just depends on the level of the
Oh,
conflict.
and another thing came in, like when you first said, oh, Shane and Wendy, we're going to interview you of what a really good relationship looks like. I'm like, okay, there's no such thing as perfection. And I can see like me listening to that podcast of like 20 years ago, I'd be like, I'm not even going to listen to it because I can't even imagine that. But I mean, we're here right now that we're human, we're real people. I've gone through a lot of narcissistic abuse. I have ADHD, which they would say comes from my childhood trauma. And, there's a lot of things that come with that I feel broken. And I feel like I'm scared of anger more than the average person. And I cower and I, do all the things that we were conditioned to learn from our parents that were toxic or not healthy. We learned from them. So, I'm always trying every single day. And we've had circumstances in our marriage that have pushed us to grow and change and become better people. And I think like one of a thing that I love so much is I used to hide and run away from anything that would hurt.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to hurt or feel pain. It's like I felt enough. I don't want any more.
Yeah.
But the more that I find that I walk in the fire, it's not as bad. I love how they say fear is false evidence appearing real.
I love
That it feels like I'm gonna die if I do this. And then you walk into it and the fire is not as bad. And then you get through it and you're like, I can't imagine had I not done that, where my life would be. So it's like I I like I'm starting to embrace the fire. And it's
Yeah.
like if I have fear,
Yeah.
oh goody, I'm gonna grow. No, it's like a
Yes.
mind shift.
Yes, I love
I
I love hearing what you're saying because I know Shane was, going in, yeah, we're gonna have conflicts. We used to do the silent treatment, but we value time, quality time. And he made sure to listen and validate what you needed and gave that time for each other. And then, Wendy, you came in saying, you know what? I have a past. And because of it, I was programmed, conditioned a certain way. And that came into the relationship. And one of them is the people pleasing. And we're not even talking about the whole ADHD because I know I have that in my marriage, and it's very interesting. When I lose my keys, they used to have a game called "Let's see how many times Anita loses her phone." Like, and until realize the gravity of what ADHD is, he right away said, "You know what? I'm on top of it." Gave me Apple AirTags on everything just so I could check, and very supportive. So I see how, people pleasing, ADHD, trauma can bring into the marriage, and on how Shane's willing to see you for who you are. And that is what it is, imperfectly perfect, but perfect just as you are. And, working around with what is, but in a loving way, which is
Yeah,
unconditional.
it's
And
really neat.
yeah, very neat. And
Yeah.
I know you spoke of people pleasing. What were the early signs in your marriage that helped you realize this was a pattern within the marriage, not only within yourself or within the relationship with your mother, but how it just kind of went into the marriage? And how did Shane respond to this type of realization?
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Listen, I do think that we were raised with kind of like traditional roles that the husband be like the provider, she's the nurturer, and she watched her mom kind of cater to her dad.
Okay.
And I think for many years she did that. And then
I was wired to do that. Yeah.
later in life, when she was getting me a drink of water, I was like, wait a second, Shane, you have 2 legs. Like, you can go get your own drink of water.
But this was like a year ago, and
Yeah.
we're almost on 33 years of marriage.
Yeah.
So
So we're,
a lot of this, we're just putting the pieces
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
that's one layer of it, is it got blended in with the traditional roles thing. But then the other nuanced thing, and this isn't directly related to people pleasing, but my wounds are neglect and abandonment. So I'm a little needy. And so I can invite myself to some of her events. And she's like, oh, great, I'd love to be with you. But then once I'm there, she's like, wait a second, I just want to be with my friends. And now you're like this third wheel. And so those have been some difficulties in the last couple of years where she has to sit with herself and say, do I really want Shane to come on this or not? And I need to respect the space that if it needs to be, whether it be a photography conference or a girls' getaway, I can just be okay with that and hold myself together and not pout and say, that's okay. She deserves that. But this is growing in us right now. Like, we're developing these new muscles.
I think like the people pleasing was so wired in. I think my mom was so fearful of losing my father that she just people pleased like crazy to keep him. And then so I just learned to do that. And really the people pleasing is so I don't have to deal with the anger. And it was the same thing in my family growing up. If I'm people pleasing, then I get the validation and the love I need. In my marriage, it's my husband's happy with me and he's not going to be angry at me. So it's like all these things that we avoid from our childhood fears. And so now that I'm acknowledging the people pleasing, and I'm finally stepping back and saying, I think you should get your own water. It's hard for me because I'm so used to, oh, let me go get it. Oh, let me do this. Let me do that.
Yeah.
I'll fix all the problems. And now I'm like, I think you should fix it. I mean, it's liberating.
I love
And
that.
it's nice for Shane to kind of hold his part in it and say, I can see where I was wrong on that. And this whole thing with him having abandonment wounds, I think you can get so caught up in your own wounds. Like, my mom was our narcissistic and I have all these issues, but I need to realize he didn't have a narcissistic parent, but he dealt with abandonment because his parents were like 18 when they had him. So they were just kids themselves trying to deal with it all. And I have to go, there's things with that. And it's not always just about me. So it's this give and take now. I think it's more of a maturity of our relationship. And I hear a lot of marriages that it just gets too hard. The conflict is too much that you don't have the bandwidth to tackle it. In the beginning, he'll say, "Tell me about your love story." That's so important because we forget like what our love story was and why we're here and why we want to push forward. Because I will tell you that Shane and I almost got divorced and we were 3 days from signing papers,
Wow.
like had gone through everything. And we reconciled 3 days before. And it's like, it's going to be easier with our kids. There's problems, but we still love each other. And we just decided to plow through and
Yeah.
just work it out. It's been good. Nothing's perfect.
No, I totally believe in healthy conflicts. And I love how you said that, you know what, I acknowledge my parts of self that I'm working on, and they're acknowledging their parts of work that they're working on, and together we try to figure it out by finding our healthy selves to work on ourselves, but to go into the parts of each other within the relationship. For both of you, how does that look like? How do you acknowledge each other's wounds, but still allow the space for each other to work on them, and then also work on the relationship, like how to separate it and not give it to the other person?
I like our spiritual time in the morning, but
Yeah. One thing that's very unique is we have a mixed faith marriage, and she just commented that in the morning, my morning ritual is reading like scriptures or uplifting talks. Hers is meditation, and sometimes she does some tarot cards, and but we honor and respect each other's spiritual path. And sometimes I'll say, "Oh, there's an amazing story I want to share with you," and I'll share something from my readings, and she will share something from hers. And we're careful and sensitive, knowing we need to be careful because we have different spiritual paths, but we have enough common values. So I think that's a sign of
Yes.
maturity, is that you have some common values and you support each other. And sometimes I need to bend her way, and sometimes she bends my way. But that just comes with like maturity and not being in power struggles over things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love how you said that power struggles. Many women here in the audience listening in, they're trying to unlearn the people pleasing, but really relearn new behaviors while still navigating a partnership. And so they're still people pleasers, they're entering a relationship. What did it look like for you to support Wendy's empowerment without feeling threatened by it?
That's a question for me.
I would say that you have felt a bit threatened by it. I think as I am finding I'm going through like individuation, like trying to find my own identity, and me people pleasing all the time for a spouse. That's a really kind of neat thing for them to get 100% of the person. And for me to be pulling back and saying, I want to start my own business. I want to empower other women. I'm not around all the time. And I want to be by myself and I want to do things on my own. I mean, I love Disneyland. I've even like gone by myself
Love
just to
that.
take pictures of Disneyland, like the doorknobs that no one would ever let me do. So, I mean, I think it's hard for you. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that it is difficult when we've had kind of maybe a really close relationship, and maybe sometimes it was enmeshed and unhealthy, or they might call it codependent. And as she tries to just exert her independence, I have to just trust that this is her personal growth journey. And, I can speak up if she was doing 3 weekends in a row of photography conferences. I could say, hey, could I attend one of these? And in the evenings we could hang out, or maybe you could do 2 of the 3 instead of 3. She would probably say, yeah, maybe I am overscheduled here. And sometimes I do the same thing where I get really in my overfunction mode, and I give my work my best efforts, and then she gets the leftover energy. And so each week we're just kind of evaluating our energy level and if we're having work and home life balance, and it just takes practice.
it's a give and take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't be all selfish and go, I know this is my individuation time and I'm going to do what I want see you wouldn't want to be you,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. So, yeah, it's a give and take.
It's
And
finding the balance.
yeah, we've got 2 daughters that are very like very independent, like feminist independence, and I know that they don't like it. They would rather, "Mom, you need to be independent by yourself and not always with dad." And Shane would say it's like a garden and you have to water it. And if it has weeds in it, you got to pull out the weeds. And if you just say, if you're selfish and you're just going to do it your way, you're going to choke your marriage.
Mhm.
So, and the weeds will eventually take over and you won't have anything in common anymore. So I think that's important.
I love that. You both really explained it perfectly. So you have codependent, independent, and interdependent, where you're learning who you are yourself, but you also acknowledge that we are also made to emotionally connect with others. And so it's a need, not a want, but you're connecting for you, but also helping others as well. So for you both, you're helping each other for the value of your team. Because I always like to call a marriage, what is your team name? And it's
Madison.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
And so it's for your team, your marriage. And so you're not totally independent because you chose and made a
Uh-huh.
vow to not do so, but you're not codependent doing everything for the others. You're mindful and are interdependent, which is perfectly said and very healthy.
I would say the majority of our marriage, we were more on the codependent side. And I would say probably in the last 4 years, we've started coming out of that to the interdependence.
Yeah.
I think, hopefully it's rubbing off on our kids too, as we're learning all this. As kids, we used to, before the kids would go to school, we'd say, okay, everybody put your hands in the center. And we'd twist all our hands together and we'd go, 1, 2, 3, go Adamsons. And we'd go off to school. And yeah, it's a
Fun.
family unit. And I'm so glad that I didn't give up. We didn't give up to get divorced because our kids, we fight to keep all of us together.
Yeah, they look at us for examples. I know for my children, my husband will give me a hug, and my daughter will be like, "Why are you hugging mommy?" And he's like, "Because I love her." And then he'll give me a kiss. "Oh, you're giving her a kiss." He's like, "Well, that's what love is." And I was like, "Yes." And I go, "But of course, he needs to ask for permission because I know they're watching. And I want them to know, not without my permission. Just because someone loves you doesn't mean that you just do so." It's always a life lesson, let me tell you. I remember the time when I started becoming empowered many, many years ago and noticed the whole people pleasing. And when I started speaking up, yes, it's scary, as you mentioned, but I said, I'm going to do it anyways because I'm over it. I'm done. Nothing good came out of being happy with people pleasing. And I remember my husband going, "Who are you?" And I'm like, this is me. I was just too scared, just people pleasing, doing whatever anybody ever wanted. But this is me. He's like, okay, I just need to get used to what's happening here. There's time to just adapt and change because we're always growing, learning, and changing. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to use the example. I started eating healthier, and then I used to never like salsa. It's because it's spicy. But then over the years with eating healthy, not eating as much sugar, I started to kind of liking salsa. Well, one time he goes over and he's like, no, mom, don't give her any salsa. He tells my mother-in-law, and he's like, because she doesn't like salsa. And I'm like, who are you to tell me what I like and do not like? And do you see my thoughts? Do you feel my feelings? Do you taste my taste buds? And he's like, oh, this again. And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It's good to have a prompt. He knows that that's when he stepped over my boundary. And he gave it to me, and I'm like, oh, this is really good. He's like, since when did you like salsa? And I'm like, well, if you allowed me the space to ask, I would have told you. It's a thing that I started, venturing into, and I like the salsa now. And he's like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't know that. And so in the marriage, becoming empowered, resilient, authentic, growing and changing, it's always happening. So this whole, I know you like the back of my hand, that's not actually a good thing, because then you're really not knowing who they are and evolving into.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Another thing that came up as you were talking is being like getting over our people pleasing in our marriages and our families is a safe place, because as an entrepreneur, I'm starting to venture out, and it's scary to be able to hold your boundaries and not be people pleasing in the public. I think it's really also important to realize that in the family dynamic, it's such a safe place.
Yeah.
That no one's there to hurt you, but you can gain those skills that you're going to need to bring out into the world.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. Talking about boundaries with you and Shane, being able to be safe and vulnerable around him to set those boundaries. What were some boundaries that you set in that changed the dynamic in the relationship?
I will tell you, in my photography career, this has been kind of new, that last year there was a big conference that I went to Las Vegas, and Shane wanted to come with me. So my people pleasing and boundaries were like all over the place. So Shane came, wanted to be with me. My friends wanted me to go to classes. I was volunteering, and I was like a ping pong ball trying to make Shane happy, trying to make everybody happy. Everyone was like, Shane has a leash around your neck. And it was very uncomfortable. And I didn't realize that I had to create a boundary there.
Okay.
So, the next one, he said, can I come? Which was not too long ago. And I said, yes, but I need for you not to be, you need to allow me to be in classes. You can do your thing. I don't want to feel guilty of what you're doing. And that didn't work out even that well. So now I'm going to another conference, and I'm like, I don't want you there.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't love you, but I realize that I can't do what I need to do with you there. So,
Yeah.
you just gotta figure out what is gonna work for you, and love yourself enough to say, this is what I need. And if they love you, they'll say, okay,
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. And
right?
Right.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
in both examples, they were great, because the first example you used, you talk about the value of family, and both of you valued family. And that was your common goal. You mentioned the weed story. If you don't really work on it, it gets lost. And it just so happened that with your daughter going through what she was going through, it really helped you band together as the family and work it out. And
Yeah, it
yeah.
was keeping her alive was the number one priority.
I love that. I love that
Yeah.
story. And even in your second one, because the dynamic, a lot of people assume I'm going to set the boundary and that's it. But you don't know what boundary it is, because things happen. You didn't know you
Right.
needed a boundary going to Vegas. And you're like, okay, well, let's try this boundary. And people assume if I do this boundary, it's going to work flawlessly all the time. But you both navigated through that first boundary, and then you're like, yeah, it's still not going to work, until finally this last time you're going to try to work the nothing and see how that works. Like, it's a work in progress when it comes to the boundaries.
It's like perfecting anything, or a recipe, or cooking, it's gonna change every time you do it and get better.
Yeah.
So it's better to just plow in and do what you need to do. And if it doesn't work, you can always shift.
Yeah.
my kids always, my daughter and I would talk, and she's like, Mom, I'm so scared, like launching into college. What if I do something wrong? And I said, it's okay, because you go one way, and if it doesn't work, you just pivot. And then you go that way. And if it doesn't work, you just pivot. It's the same thing, but at least you're standing up for yourself and saying, I really need this.
I do want to add in, because I know you used that example this morning when things change and you had to pivot and adapt. We pay attention to our bodies, especially people pleasers. One of the common negative beliefs is I'm in control. And so we tend to micromanage things, the whole perfectionism. And once we're aware of that part, and then of course, let's add in ADHD. Whenever there's anything happening, there's a lag in the emotional regulation. So for me, I'll adapt and pivot maybe one or two things within the day. But when it's more than two, and it's just like, oh my God, my body will react. And I'm like, okay, I'm done for the day. And my husband already knows that there's only so much I can pivot. And he allows me the space to just be like, I'm going to go to sleep, take a cold shower, and I'll just wait for tomorrow. And then, we make it work, whatever adapting thing is. Because yeah, it's hard. Change is hard. And we normally try to do it little by little because we tend to avoid. Even if there's some adapting and things change and you lose your emotional regulation, that's okay. We just, regulate and keep pivoting and find our new normal. There was actually a question I wanted to ask Shane. So we're talking healthy relationships, but I do want to venture a little bit into the toxic relationship, because I know that most of my people pleasers that are listening in have a little bit more of that. And I know we want to balance it off. One of the things that the unhealthy partners tend to do is emotionally manipulate by guilting or shaming. And so I know that Wendy, you mentioned family. Just because we're related doesn't mean that they're healthy at times. And I speak for my own side of my relatives because they're not family. So for those that don't have that, or let's say their partner isn't as understanding as Shane, what would you say, Shane, to the audience or to the women who are people pleasers when their partner, instead of saying, hey, I'm not going to take you with me, and they tend to emotionally guilt or want them to take over that baggage, let's say the abandonment issue, say, well, you're leaving me or you're doing this, or not working through that and giving them shame. What is your best advice for that?
That's a good one. Have any of your listeners learned of the drama triangle before? Basically, the drama triangle is there's three sides to it, and the victim role is a powerful role, and you can use manipulative tactics, shaming tactics from this victim role, and you're basically saying, someone rescue me. Then there's another role, which is the persecutor, and the persecutor is kind of like the boss. They're right, and they're like, you need to do this because this is the right thing to do. The third one, the rescuer, those are the people that are the people pleasers that just kind of try to make everyone happy. But all three of those roles are less mature, and you have to be able to check your body. And if a husband is pouting and saying, this isn't fair, you need to bring me, you might need to go into the other room, gather your thoughts, and circle back and say, I just feel strongly that you're going to be okay. I'm welcome to check in with you. I can sure battling loneliness would be hard, but I don't want you to guilt or shame me into something you want. I need to follow my heart here. And my heart says, I need to go to this conference for these reasons. And it's not a couple weekend, it's a personal development weekend.
Oh, and then I think the rescuer would be the friend would say, but the husband, you need to let her go.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes
That would be the rescuer. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Three people involved in the drama triangle. And I'll give an example on a Saturday weekend, me being on all three roles. The house is a wreck. Nobody's done their chores, and I've worked 50 hours. I come in first as the persecutor. How lazy are you guys? I can't believe you guys have been sitting and just leaving cereal bowls and cans all over the house. And then the kids run over to mom, and they're like, Dad's in one of those moods again. So they're being the victims of Dad's anger. And then Wendy's the rescuer, like, Shane, Now, a more mature way for me to handle that is like to get Wendy on the side and say, okay, instead of me going in with that tone, let's go in as a team
Yeah.
and say, hey, we've all been irresponsible this week and let's set a timer and we can have a snack or a treat if we all work together for 45 minutes. Like that's a better
Because
way.
I could take on the victim too and say, well, you're never doing the dishes and I'm always having to do that. So
Everyone is bouncing all over the place in those
love
three roles,
that.
and they're all immature and manipulative.
How do you put a wedge so that it doesn't finish the cycle when it begins? How do you put that wedge so it could like break that
I would say
triangle?
functional adult.
Yeah. The most mature response is going to get you off the drama triangle. Immature responses are manipulative, underhanded, shaming.
Okay.
They're more immature and they work on people, and that's why we keep doing them. Unless you have a mature person that suddenly says that didn't feel right, the way that that comment or that thing felt like it was underhanded or manipulative, and so you have to of your mature self.
You have to listen to your body, because if your body is dysregulated, and then it's telling you something's wrong.
Okay. What are some statements or phrases that would help that?
What is the most responsible thing to do in this situation?
Okay.
Or I'm feeling a lot of emotions right now about this. And so
Can we take a time out?
can we take a time out
I
so I
love
can
that.
get some wisdom and clarity on approaching this in a mature way and not in a dramatic way? And so sometimes it requires a timeout and so that you can circle back when you really are more like grounded.
Grounded.
You're not in this reactive mindset.
You just reminded me last week. I'm trying to work on adding a second camera, and my husband's the IT guy, and I'm like, you do this for me, right? I get frustrated with technology, and I don't know what had happened, and or maybe something turned off, and he raises his voice like whenever he doesn't know something. It's like, oh, I don't know, and I'm like, okay, it seems that you're frustrated, so I'm gonna walk away. And then he's like, but I need you here. I see that because you're wanting for me to be there to show you. However, what I don't need is this frustration. But no. So if I'm more than happy to be here, as long as this frustration doesn't go to me, because that belongs to you. So what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And then he just, went ahead and became him. So it's just like redirecting the behavior when I said, okay, you're raising your voice and it seems you're flustered, so I'm going to be. And it was just like, wow, I'm so proud of myself. I rarely don't. I just either walk away and be like, oh, later, but this time I was like, oh, I'm not taking this on. This isn't mine to take on. You can have that
Right.
back and let me know when you're done with it so I can come back.
I think that knowledge is power. And the more that you're doing, like, I know I used to hear people say, you're not healthy and you need to like do your work. And I never really understood that. Like, what does it mean to do your work? But the more that you're reading, the more that you're listening to podcasts, I mean, just every little thing starts adding, and that is the work. And you'll start little things, you'll start putting two and two together, and they just get stronger and stronger the more that you do. And I was talking to someone yesterday, and I was telling him my story, and he came from a similar background as me and said, I want you to know, Wendy, that your work is never over. And I feel like, I've gone through a 14-year journey, and I have to realize it will never end. And I can't say I've arrived. Even if I have a pretty good marriage, it can be better. And so I think we always, knowledge is power, and just keep going.
Yeah, but isn't it fun though? I always tell people to be curious about your
Oh,
marriage,
it gets better and better. It's so
Yeah.
exciting.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's infinite possibilities of just getting to know each other. And it's a journey, not a destination. It's just enjoying that journey. So I
If
love
my
that.
14-year-old self 14 years ago saw me now, I don't think she would believe it. So, I mean, it's kind of neat to think like in 10 years, what is that version of me going to be like? It's just neat
Oh, I
because you
love
can
that.
sit and not grow. And then what?
Yeah. Definitely. Talking about understanding trauma and how did understanding each other's trauma and your willingness to do the work within yourself shift your relationship into one that actually heals rather than repeats the past?
Good.
You know, because we both did similar trauma intensives,
Okay.
we did one called Finding Peace and another one called Green Shoe, which was family of origin trauma. We both kind of have that shared history of healing. And so, like, I can say something like, "Oh, if I feel the drama triangle coming on," she'll say, "Were you being manipulative right there?"
We
And,
geek out on all this.
and sometimes she's right. I'm like, "Yeah, I think I was trying to get you to do this thing, and I should have just asked for it instead of, like, did it in an underhanded way." You know what I mean? And so, I think trauma is very complex, and we all have our individual journey of healing, and
Yeah.
some people love EMDR, some people love psychodrama or experiential, but you have your path, and if you're vulnerable, you can share with each other, "That just triggered me," and you can say, "On a scale of 1 to 10, how much?" And then if it's 7, 8, 9, then you're like, "Oh, we probably need to take a break," or, "What do you need right now?" And so you just handle each other with a little more sensitivity
Yeah.
when you know that each of us have our own trauma wounds, and you
Yeah.
kinda go slower and more carefully with each other.
You're being
It's
considerate.
an interesting journey being married to a therapist, though. I got a little lucky there, so I'm sorry to the listeners here. It's got its good points, but it has its bad points. That
Yes.
he's always
I
like in the
agree.
beginning. He was always like he knew all, and we knew nothing.
We had a therapist call me out during that season of where we were helping our daughter get coping skills for her depression and suicidal thinking, and that was a 2-year journey of family therapy, and that therapist, I needed to be called out that I have work to do, I'm not right all the time, and so, yeah, it's been a journey.
A journey.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
It is. And you talked about the retreats. What do these retreats mean in terms of relationships and helping people pleasers step into that power?
So, think of trauma, unresolved trauma is going to make you more insecure, more anxious. You're going to get triggered more quickly. So you won't be able to do relationships as well because you're always like either withdrawing or shutting down, or you're coming in and protesting really loudly and aggressively, and then your partner shuts down. But as you do your trauma work, you can kind of regulate yourself in a way where you can approach each other more carefully and respectfully, and then you're enjoying more of the love story instead of that drama triangle that we talked about, where there's someone's the victim, someone is the cause of that, and there's someone rescuing somebody. I mean, it's just more or less mature. And when you do the trauma work, you can have more mature love because you don't get into all these little drama situations as much.
The retreats, are there for individuals or they're for couples?
Oh, the green shoe?
Green Shoe's individual. We've had couples come to Finding Peace, but most people come individually.
Okay.
Man, you can do either or with Finding Peace, couples or as an individual.
Then what was your couples one called?
Oh, Hold Me Tight is a couples weekend workshop.
That's a
Okay.
good one.
Not trauma oriented. It's more of just
Conversations.
bonding as a couple and figuring out what's getting in the way of your connection, basically.
Oh, I love that. Because even then, let's say you don't even know you're a people pleaser, you kind of have an idea, or even
Yeah.
the male's part, you don't know that you're confining them as a people pleaser and not empowering them to support them. That retreat could actually help each other out to get to know one another.
And the therapists walk around and help you so they can see the dynamics. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yes. Make sure you let me know when your next retreat is, the
Okay.
weekend retreat, so I could put it in there for them in case anyone's
you.
interested. Normally, I usually like to wrap each episode by asking my guests 2 powerful reflection questions. But today's the first because I had asked you in part 1 and part 2. So I've had to pivot and adapt and switch it up a bit. Thanks to you both, I've created a new version of these questions tailored for couples doing the conscious work of love, healing, and growth together. And I know our audience is going to love hearing your answers. I'd love for each of you to answer through your own perspectives as a couple. I want them to know that you guys have your own perspective, your own lens, and it's not right or wrong. It just is. So they could see the heart of your relationship and your reflections within the relationship and how you guys really validate each other. I love that. I want them to see that. Question number 1, together within your own perspectives, how would you define an empowered, authentic relationship?
You want to go? Okay. Okay. I would say an empowered relationship is balanced in that you have a solid sense of yourself and who you are, and you know your needs, but you also value bonding with your partner, but you're trying to be a balance of those two things. There's times to bond and connect, but there's also times to be with yourself. And if I get too out of whack with independence, then I'm neglecting the marriage garden and weeds are going to come in there. But if I'm too focused on kind of like bonding and cuddling all the time, I smother her, and then it's kind of like enmeshed, and it doesn't feel like love. It feels like smothering instead of loving. And so there is a fine balance of bonding and loving and having personal time. And that balance is every couple needs to figure that out.
I love that. Yeah.
I would say in our beginning marriage, I was so interested in and enthralled with the concept of balance. And it's so important. It's so funny also hearing his answer because it's what we do together as a couple. So we are trying to have that interdependence. And I would say that is the new thing that I'm grasping with everything I have because of being a people pleaser for so long and giving up my sense of self to my mother, to my husband, to my kids, that I'm just fiercely wanting to find my own independence and starting up my own business and, empowering other women and taking care of myself and saying it's okay. And with that, to carry the balance, to make sure that my marriage is intact and that I am spending enough time with him. But there's that balance. And I would say because I'm an empty nester and my kids are gone, I'm going to be a little bit more on the me side.
Yeah. Oh,
Because I've never had it.
Yeah.
Being like catering to my mom and everyone else, this is a neat time for me to say, wow, I get to self-care. Wow, I get to build a business. Wow, it's me.
Yeah. I love that
And
too.
I'm supported by him
Yeah.
saying, good job, even when he's pouting or crying that he wants to be with me.
And it's that part of him that he's working on, but that healthy part is the one supporting you. So seeing
Yeah.
those two different sides and not meshing.
Yeah.
I love
It's
that.
the balance.
Yes. Question number 2. Now imagine this due to some unforeseen event happening, natural disaster. Everything in your home was lost except for one item, something that represents the strength, depth, and soul of your marriage and symbol of your relationship. What would that one item be and why?
You have anything?
Yes. Out of some weird thing, we have these printer drawers that are old vintage that they used to put the letters in when they would do prints on newspapers. So a friend of mine had these drawers and I have 2 of them on my wall right now. But every time we have an impactful experience of our marriage, we put some kind of memorabilia in the little spaces and they're all filled to where like everything to when we first met to, our
Couple getaways.
old driver's licenses or my dad's driver's license and he passed away 20 years ago. It's just like all these memories. I would love to have that. Like
Yeah.
just it's our love story on the wall.
Oh, I love that. You, Shane?
Yeah. You know, I'm a scrapbooker and I have these little family books. There's too many of them. Like I had one for each year. So in our closet, every time the kids won an award, I would put it in their little book. And at the end of the year, we just kind of celebrate. And maybe I would try to grab as many of those because it's kind of our family story because we've only been empty nesters now
A year,
a year. Yeah. So
a half a year.
of our 33-year marriage, we've been raising kids until just this last year. And so those are some significant memories that were memorable.
I love that. Your love story and your family that you
And the
created
family story.
because of your love story.
Right.
But if I had to have one thing, it would be him.
I love
Not
that.
the things on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so funny. Oh my goodness. Oh, and where can my audience connect with you, find you?
So if you Googled Shane Adamson, you'll find Center for Marriage and Family.
Yeah.
Anita was a guest on my show. You'll have to come listen. That's Help for Loving Relationships. And there is a Finding Peace retreat coming up. So you could Google Finding Peace Retreat with Troy Love and Shane Adamson. And sometimes we do these Hold Me Tights, which is couples weekend workshops. But yeah, I do some telehealth as well. So Shane Adamson or Center for Marriage and Family Counseling in Frisco, Texas.
Love that.
And I'm Wendy Adamson, and I own Wendy Adamson Portraits, and I empower women through portraiture. And you can find me under Wendy Adamson Portrait everywhere.
I love that.
Instagram, YouTube, it's all the same name.
Yes. Shane and Wendy, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for sharing your story, your insights, your truth with us. This episode, like your marriage, is beautiful example of what's possible, that love is rooted in freedom, not fear. And to all of you listening, may this conversation plant a seed of hope, not weeds, and possibility in your own journey toward empowered, authentic love and relationships. And until next time, stay grounded, stay growing, and keep having the conversations that let you free from people pleasing and into authentic relationships. Until our next conversation, be well and stay safe.
Thanks for listening to Empowering Women in Conversations. This conversation has ended, but your journey to empowerment continues. Please share with someone you know who will find this conversation helpful and inspiring. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Until our next empowered conversation with your host, licensed professional counselor, Anita Sandoval. And remember, we are brave. We are strong. We are compassionate. We are women empowered. Go out there and claim your power.